Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled you're tuning in today. We are going to take a really focused, structured look at a highly critical window of time for homeowners in the Chicago area. I'm talking, of course, about the spring thaw. Now, if you live around here, you already know winter hits hard, and the changing seasons bring a lot of shifts to your home. But our source material for today highlights something super important. This transition period is actually one of the riskiest times of the entire year for your household plumbing. So, over the next few minutes, we're going to walk through a highly specific spring thaw plumbing checklist. The whole point here is to empower you. We want to give you the exact visual cues and testing strategies you need to protect your property right now, before some minor hidden issue turns into an absolute disaster. You know, there's actually a fascinating, almost sneaky tension between the seasons when it comes to your pipes. Winter is when the actual physical damage happens, right? The temperatures just plummet, the water inside your pipes freezes, and then it expands. That brutal expansion pushes against the metal or plastic and creates these tiny weak spots and hairline fractures. But here's the catch. Because everything is frozen solid, those problems stay perfectly dormant. You literally have no idea they're even there. It's like a ticking time bomb. It's the spring thaw that actually brings the reckoning. As the weather finally warms up, the water starts moving again. The thawed ground around your home shifts and, boom, suddenly all those dormant problems are exposed as active damaging leaks. So to get ahead of this, we're going to take a spatial tour of your home to systematically hunt down these leaks, backups, and stress fractures before they can escalate.
So, here is our roadmap for today's tour. First, we'll cover hunting hidden hotspots. Second, core systems. Third, daily drains and toilets. Fourth, protecting the great outdoors. And finally, the fix.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, Hunting Hidden Hotspots.
We're going to start our tour in the most vulnerable areas of your house. Think exterior walls, uninsulated basements, crawl spaces, maybe the garage. Basically, the dark corners where pipes take the absolute hardest hits during those freezing winter months. Now, before you start running a ton of water through your system to test things out, just stop and rely on your eyes and your nose. You are hunting for any visual or olfactory clues of a slow leak that's just started to thaw out. We're talking damp drywall, maybe some weird new discoloration on your floors, subtle ceiling stains, or, and this is a big one, just a musty odor that definitely wasn't there a month ago. You'll also want to check the visible supply lines under your sinks, behind your toilets, and around any shutoff valves. Remember, even a tiny, barely noticeable drip can get incredibly bad, incredibly fast once that thaw water really gets moving at full pressure and the ground keeps shifting.
And that brings us to a really critical concept to understand: microleaks. These are small pipe failures that are completely uncovered by the thaw. See, even if your pipes technically survive the cold without totally bursting, those aggressive freeze-thaw cycles and ground shifts can expose these tiny, almost invisible weak spots. And they are super tricky. Why? Because they aren't always actively dripping when the pipe is just sitting there idle. They often actually require water to be moving through them to finally reveal themselves.
So how in the world do we actually hunt these microleaks down? Well, the best method is to run your water in short bursts. While you do that, actively inspect the areas around your joints, fittings, and supply lines as the water is flowing. Pay extra special attention to any connections that you couldn't easily access or keep an eye on during the winter. Now, if you suspect a leak might be hiding behind a wall where you just can't see it, the source material highly recommends using a moisture meter or even an infrared inspection tool if you happen to have access to one. The entire goal of this step is early detection. You want to find that moisture before it soaks into the drywall and triggers a massive, expensive mold problem.
Okay, moving right along to Section 2, core systems.
Now that we've checked the perimeter and the hidden corners, let's pull back out of the crawl spaces and look at the mechanical heart of your home's plumbing. Mainly, we're talking about your shutoff valves. Step 1. Confirm that you can actually find both your main and branch shutoff valves. Step 2. Gently, and I mean gently, cycle the handle to make sure it can fully open and close. And Step 3, this is absolutely crucial. Do not force a stiff or stuck valve. Seriously, don't do it. If a valve is stuck right now, it is highly likely to break or fail you entirely when an emergency repair is desperately needed. You want to figure out if it's broken today while everything is calm and dry, not when water is literally flooding your basement, right? And while you're down there testing these systems, make sure you really use your ears. Listen closely for any new banging or whistling sounds in the pipes, or maybe inconsistent water flow and temperature. These weird, irregular noises are massive early clues. They're basically your plumbing trying to tell you something's wrong.
It usually hints at underlying issues like clogged valves, a failing pressure regulator, or maybe severe scaling built up inside the pipes. Just be sure to document exactly when and where you hear these sounds so you can track them.
Next up in our core systems check is everyone's favorite, the water heater. Step 1. Look really closely around the base and all the connections for any signs of leakage or corrosion. Step 2. If your setup happens to include a drain pan underneath the unit, just confirm that it's completely dry and sitting properly. Step 3. Carefully check the temperature and pressure discharge pipe. Plumbers usually call this the TNP pipe. You just need to make sure it isn't blocked up or leaking where it terminates. If you find any dampness here, or if you hear irregular popping or rumbling coming from the tank itself, you really should go ahead and schedule service now, before the heavy summer demand hits.
All right, let's head upstairs for Section 3, daily drains and toilets.
So, transitioning up from the mechanical room and into your primary living spaces. The thaw season doesn't just mess with pipes, it also changes water flow patterns. That means it can bring lingering debris, winter grease, and all that built-up sediment right back to the surface. So here's your rapid-fire checklist for your daily drains and toilets. First, test your bathroom sink and tub drains one at a time. Watch carefully for a slow drain or any standing water. Second, run the kitchen sink and keep an eye out for persistent odors or if it's just stubbornly sluggish. Third, check any floor drains you have, especially the ones in the basement, to make sure they flow properly. And finally, toilets. Believe it or not, toilets are surprisingly sensitive to these seasonal shifts. Give the base a little nudge to see if it's rocking, or check for any moisture around the floor, which could definitely mean the wax ring has failed. Wet floors or stains around the toilet, huge red flags. Also, just check the supply line for drips and listen for a few seconds to confirm the flapper actually seals properly and isn't just continuously running water.
Now, there is a really crucial warning from our source material that I want to highlight here. It says, over time, extra water can push blockages farther, making the eventual fix more expensive. I think this just brilliantly illustrates why you absolutely cannot ignore a slow drain. It is so incredibly tempting to fall into this wait and hope trap when your sink just takes an extra 10 seconds to empty, right? We've all done it. But ignoring it usually just forces the blockage way deeper into your system, and suddenly what would have been a super cheap, simple snaking job turns into a massive, ridiculously costly excavation. Don't let that happen.
Almost done. Let's look at Section 4, protecting the great outdoors.
Okay, so we've secured the interior of the house. Now, step outside with me. We need to complete our perimeter defense against the lingering, brutal effects of that Chicago winter. You need to go around and check your exterior hose bibs, your sprinkler systems, and any accessible underground valves. The winter temperatures put an insane amount of stress on those outdoor faucets and underground lines, so you've got to verify that your hose bibs are fully functional and that your outdoor shutoff valves are actually reachable and turnable. And you want to do this before the season gets fully wet and warm.
Also, for a lot of homes in the Chicago area, the outdoor setup includes a backflow preventer. This is an absolutely vital piece of safety equipment. You must inspect it according to your manufacturer's specific guidance. Making sure that backflow preventer is in proper working order is literally what protects your home's potable drinking water system from outside contamination. So for sure, do not skip this step.
And that brings us to our final stop, Section 5, the fix.
Well, we made it. We've walked through the entire house, top to bottom, inside and out. As you can tell, this whole preventative inspection is designed to be super simple, very manageable, and highly systematic. You're really just observing, testing, and verifying everything while the conditions are still in your favor. But I have to say, if during this tour you actually find damage, repeated backups, or signs of significant leakage, the time for observation is officially over. At that point, you need prompt, immediate contact with a licensed professional to stop the water damage in its tracks. I want to leave you with one final provocative thought today. Will you find your home's microleaks, or will they find you? Taking action today puts you firmly in control of your home, whereas just waiting around for a ceiling to stain, that puts the winter weather in control. So start your plumbing tour today, listen to what your house is telling you, and protect your investment. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, happy inspecting!